welcome back. That is, if you are back, because it's been a long time. I had a look to see when my last Instagram post was, and I think it was May last year, which would make sense. So let me give you a very, very, very brief fill-in of all the craziness that's been going on in the last year. So in May last year, I was in my third trimester, and it all went a little bit tricky. So I ended up spending a few weeks mostly in hospital towards the end, but baby George joined us at the end of June, and that was amazing. And it's been incredibly busy since then, since we've been adjusting to life with two kids rather than one. And we decided to pick up on our plans to move down to Dorset from Birmingham, which, if you're not a UK viewer, Birmingham is in the middle of England. It's kind of like as far away from the sea as you can get, really. And now we live by the seaside, which is amazing. We're now based in Christchurch, which we are so excited about. So yeah, that's what's been going on. So I wouldn't recommend having a baby and then making a long distance move. I certainly wouldn't recommend that at all. I also wouldn't recommend trying to run a shop when Royal Mail are having some strikes and then get struck by a cyber attack. It's not been a good time to be a shop owner in the UK, but we're here. We're back. I've just about got my head back in the game a little bit, and I'm going to really try and get back on the ball with some videos because I miss all you guys. It's been such a long time. Anyway, so today I'm going to show you through a series of planners what my planning has looked like in this past crazy 9 months. I'm doing this in sections, I think, because I'm literally watching my baby monitor just to the side right now, and I can see that my little baby has just woken up. Well, I say little, he's 8 months now and not so little at all. But yeah, I might have to go in a bit. Oh, the challenges. So, do you remember my setup video from last year? You would be forgiven for not remembering because it's been a while, but this was the one. This was my Navy A5 Malden, and I set this up with so many good intentions. It was going to be my self-care planner, my stay healthy while pregnant planner. Oh, I loved it. And it was going to be full of my self-care ideas. It was going to be full of my creative projects that I wanted to do, and needle felting, let's try that, and reading. I had a whole massive reading section, and I was even reading books back then, and then it went wrong. I did not get much use out of this planner before I was in hospital, and then when George came along, I didn't get much use out of it then either. I started to pick it up towards the end of the year, so if I flick towards the back I can see I've got spelling sheets to go over and all sorts of stuff with my little girl. So yeah, that did not happen. I have got, in fact, this amuses me because I've got some maps that we printed out when we were house hunting so that we could find somewhere to live. It would be really nice. So I've got all of our annotations and all of this kind of stuff to see where we want it to be. But yeah, apart from that, this did not get used enough. But I scaled it down, threw it to one side. I ended up following that in this one. This was a very sparse setup for me. Look, there's nothing even in the pockets, and there never was. I say never was because I'm not in this now. But look how bare it is. This is about the most bare planner I've had for ages. So in this one, I had a bit of a calendar setup going on that, as you can see, wasn't used all that much. A bit, not too much. And I had in here my kind of like daily, what am I doing pages. And then I had, as we were getting close to the time when we were moving house, it got really busy and I needed this fold out kind of system. So I'd have all of my bits and pieces in different areas of my life all together. So what I'd got was, let me show you one that I haven't scrawled all over. So I'd have in the middle, there's so much space on fold-outs, I love it. Everything that I needed to get done for the day, all of my tasks, anything that we had to do with moving house, anything I had to do to keep work ticking over, Poppy and George stuff, food, and then self-care as well. And you've guessed it from the blank pages. That wasn't happening either. If your planner is not getting used, it's not right. There's something that needs to be changed. So that went, and then that didn't work either. Crikey, you'd think I'd never used a planner before, and don't know what to do with them. So this one, eventually, this one, which I normally have for all of my shop stuff, this is what I keep my order sheets in and anything like that. But there's something about these file leaves. I'm not quite sure how you actually are supposed to use these in motorhome planners. I love them, but I do think that they make a really great dividing section. I'm sure there's someone out there shaking their head going, no, that's not what they're for. But for me, it's perfect because I was able to have a personal section in the front and then a work section in the back. So 2 planners in one. So perfect for me. I tend to flip-flop between, do I want work and personal stuff together because I don't want to lose track of one while I'm focusing on the other, or do I want them completely separate? I'm not sure. I'm sure I'll keep changing my mind backwards and forwards. I think I'm just doomed to be one of these people who just can't stay with one thing for a long time. So anyway, in this one I had mostly, let me show you how crazy it was getting at one point. So I had a day on 2 pages set up where it was crazy busy. And for me at the time, this was brilliant because I could keep all of my moving bits and pieces together. We had so much to do. Oh, goodness. I'm just remembering with horror now. It was so busy. We had to downsize massively to be able to move to the coast. So we had to get rid of so much stuff. So there were charity collections and sales of bits and pieces and phone calls to a new school to find out what the uniform was. And horrendous. So this was great. And can you notice I've got this dated because I just needed to just keep that focused on what had to happen by each day. But let me just show you. So yeah, nothing. Nothing. Are you getting the idea? There's a bit of a common theme, isn't there? This one was great for a while, then it went out. So we then ended up with the planner that I'm in at the moment, which is my personal size motorhome. This one is what I'm currently in at the moment, and for now it's working well. It is a little bit more sparse than I normally have, but it's working. So what I have now, I've learned from my mistakes. I now have an undated daily planner. So I have a day on 2 pages for when I'm feeling like I've got space and time to think and get things done. But what I'm really finding useful at the moment is a 2 weeks on 2 pages layout. So here is my current view at the moment. It is so minimal, so sparse, but it's kind of everything I need and not really anything more. So I don't have all of the bits and pieces that I would normally do, but what I have got, just heard my little boy, I think I'm gonna have to go in a minute. For what I have got though are extra bits and pieces. So if I want to focus on meal planning for the week or making sure that we're doing bits and pieces around the house every week, I can just clip them on. I see what I'm doing basically. So it is very basic, but it's getting used, which is the main thing. So the moral of the story is here, if you're like me and you are trying to think of one system that's going to tie you over for ages, then don't. Oh dear, yes, that did not work great at all. So in this video then, I wanted to show you basically what I've been planning in for this time, but hopefully I wanted to reassure you that being a planner switcher is totally fine. If I was to zoom back a year right now and think about where I am now, I could not imagine a system that would be able to cover everything and to allow me to have so much change and upheaval and all this kind of stuff. It just would not have been possible. I can't imagine it any other way than having all of these different systems to allow me to prioritise on all of the different things that each kind of mini season has meant I've had to do. So it's fine to switch up your system. It's fine to look at it and go, this isn't working. And just to throw it all out, well, okay, not actually throw it all out, but to discard it for a while and to try something else. So hopefully then, in the next part of the video, I'm going to be giving you some tips, because I was a bit of a professional planner switcher, which I feel like I am at this point after the last 9 months. I've got some tips to help you make the move a little bit easier. So I will join you in a bit after I've gone to sort out my little boy. When I've got some more time, I'll come back and join you and go through those with you. Okay, I'm back. Nap time ended. Time ran out, but I'm back. Okay. Tips then to make the move easier. Well, the first thing that I would suggest is when you set up your planner, knowing that you are, in your heart of hearts, a bit of a planner switcher, I would suggest setting up with switching in mind. So by that then, I mean, if possible, stay with the same size as much as you can. You've probably by now, if you're used to planning, if you've had a few different setups, you've probably got a bit of a happy spot. For me, I think it's personal. I don't know, every time I see pocket or something, I think, oh, should I switch? But I always tend to go back to personal. So if you stay with the same size as much as you possibly can, at least you can then reuse what you've got. So I tend to find myself going back and just stealing pages from previous setups because actually maybe I didn't even finish getting to the back of them, or they worked out particularly, well for me, and I can just reuse them. So that's really, really helpful then. So stay with the same size. My other suggestion then with setting up with switching in mind would be to set up just for a short amount of time. Don't have ambitions that are going to, carry you through months and months and months and months if you don't think that you normally do that kind of thing. So for me this time round, I haven't got any dated dailies, but my weeklies I have actually labelled in advance. I've gone beyond the Easter holiday, which is unusual for me. I don't think I'm going to be in it as far as May, but I'm certainly not going to label any more weeks beyond that. I'm not going to print anymore, I'm not going to do anything else, and I'm not going to feel guilty if over the next few weeks I think, should I have a bit of a revisit of the system and see if I can make it work any better for myself, because it runs out. If it keeps on going perfectly well, I'll add some, but otherwise it's fine. So buy stuff or print stuff in smaller quantities, because you don't know whether you're just going to get bored of it, or maybe your circumstances will have changed slightly. Who knows? So check in with me at the end of May and see what I'm doing. So I mentioned before then about undated. So as you saw in my dailies and the other one, it just didn't go to plan. I had all the best intentions. I thought it was going to be wonderful. It was just going to carry me through the whole of the Christmas period when it was all crazy. But actually, I just got too busy. With dated pages, if you don't use your planner, but it's literally every single day or week that you don't use it, it's wasted, isn't it? Whereas now, I know that if I haven't got a busy day, it's fine. There's no page going to waste. I can just pick up, write it as I go on next time round. If you find that you really, really can't live without dated stuff, and I honestly thought that it would be really useful, having just moved house with lots of possible appointments, that sort of thing, I thought it'd be really handy to have a little bit of dated stuff, just so when something crops up, I can just make a note of it straight away. And do you know what? Labelling from, when was it? Mid-January through to towards the end of May. It didn't take that long at all. It really, really didn't. So I don't think I'm going to be that put off doing it next time. It was fine. So my last tip then for that one is consider your dividers. So I've always tended to have sort of that daily, weekly, personal-ish kind of thing, but I've gone without monthly this time. So if I had have relied on using the same dividers, I would have had one that I just didn't want to use. So I would consider, instead of having a regular setup where you've got dividers that are pre-labelled, I would suggest having something like divider stickers instead, so you can just label them with whatever you want them to be and then peel them off when you've changed your mind. So I would also consider as well, instead of having dividers without headings, with stickers, that kind of thing, if you want really temporary stuff, or if you're just kind of testing it out a little bit, I would consider instead maybe going for something like temporary labels. So I've got here a home section at the back, and I don't know how long I want to use this for, but just for now I didn't think it was worth setting up some proper dividers for. So I've just got tab stickers on here as well. These, incidentally, are going to be new in the shop, so keep an eye out if you want to test out some of those. But you can get yourself set up with some really easy temporary sections and then just write on them. The beauty of this, of course, is I'm a fan of my friction pens. I can just rub these off if I actually think I haven't got time to sort out my garden and I want to do something else instead. So that works particularly well, I think. So my next tip then, instead of setting it with switching in mind, I would ask you to think about, what do you actually really need in the short term? So is it that you like having loads of tasks? You've got like quite an elaborate task system maybe. Maybe think about splitting that up in between your short term and your long term tasks. Now I've got in the front of mine at the moment a brain dump section, but that is only for my immediate short term stuff. Well, I say immediate short term, the next month, 2 months, possibly. I've got a separate inbox system that I use that's on my phone. It's nothing fancy at all. It is literally just my reminders app with a load of links in and dates and that kind of stuff. But for me, I know that when I've run out of steam with this one, it's fine. I don't have to bother about transferring anything, writing it out again. It should, in theory, all be done because everything in the inbox is short term. I would also suggest, can you notice as well on this one, I haven't got a monthly section, and it's the first time that I've done that for a while. I normally have them, and in my last one, again, I had a calendar section, and I did use it, but I didn't use it as much as I thought I would, and by the time it got to here, I just had all these extra pages, and I thought, who am I kidding? This is this is way too many. But I find it really, really handy to have a digital calendar as well as that. And it's one of these questions that I get asked an awful lot. Whenever I tell people what I do, I say that, do you remember Filofax, that kind of thing? I do stuff with those, and people always go, people still use those? Really? Don't you just have it on your phone? I was like, well, yes, I do. But there's a place for both. So I think that having a digital calendar is great if you want to send invites or move stuff around a lot or set up recurring things, that kind of thing. But for me, I like to transfer the immediate stuff into my planner and then just keep a separate bank of really long term, or like my sort of household calendar on the go as well. Really, really useful. So I would think about, as well as that, anything that you use maybe every year. You can have a perpetual calendar or monthly recurring tasks. You can have that kind of stuff, but have that separate. If nothing else, it's an excuse to set up a different planner. So my last tip for you then, if I move away from this for now, would be to try and get really organised with your storage. So at the moment, I am, as you can imagine, having just moved, I'm oh good lord, I've got the mother of all sorting out jobs to do, and I didn't realise until I came to pack up my old studio how many packs of inserts and old setups and everything I had. I came across stuff that I didn't even remember doing in the first place. So those are all kind of in a big box at the moment, just waiting to fall on me one day. But what I've started to do is pick through and collect all of my dividers out of previous setups and just keep them stored. So if ever I want to set up something temporary or something really quick, I can have a bit of a flick through and see what I've got. And with these binder rings, they're really useful because you can just flick through whatever you've got like a book and see if it's going to be of any use to you at the moment. So I've also, this is what I found in another planner. Look how much notepaper I've got. You'd be amazed at how much personal size notepaper I've printed out in the last year or two since I set up a little note planner and then forgot about it. Oh, good lord. But having all of your spare inserts, again, clumped together in a really organised way. See, I'm saying this as if I've done it for years. I haven't. But I do think it's a good idea. So having all of your spares so you can just grab stuff really, really helps. And of course, if you can remember where you've put them, that's even better too. So I would suggest maybe having some binder rings. Again, if you want any of those, I've got some of those in the shop. But also, I'm betting that you've got a spare planner cover or two somewhere. So why don't you pick out one of your spare old planners and have a bit of a project to gather up all of your spares, or maybe even you like archiving your old pages, anything, or taking the bits out that don't work for you anymore, keep them in an old planner cover. And don't forget, you can get a bit creative with these. So if you've got an old B6 or personal wide, you can still put personal size inserts inside that. And as well as that, if you've got a pocket cover, you can put mini in there as well. It is literally just the A5 and the A6 ring binder covers where they just stick to their own size because their holes are a bit different. But loads of options for storing those old inserts, because there's nothing nicer than having a bit of a shop through your own stash, is there? If you want to come and set up again and you just think, oh, hang on a minute, I forgot I used those. Those were quite good back in the day, and then fish them all out again. So I hope that has convinced you that whether you are the sort of person that, likes me, gets total social media FOMO when you see someone in a different size or setup and think, oh, I need to get that done, or whether you just like a bit of a seasonal decorative switch, or whether, like me, you've had some drastic lifestyle changes that mean you need to switch your planner. I hope if you are switching up, that this has given you a little bit of comfort to know that, do you know what, it's not a failure if it doesn't work. It's just getting the fun of setting it up all over again. Okay, so I hope I will see you again in my next video, which in theory will be next week. I'm going to do my best. Right, that's enough for now. Thank you. Bye-bye.